I think my screen is visible. Anyone, please confirm.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. So in last lecture, I mentioned that in from this week I'll either start NOC or prefetching. But later I decided that first go with prefetching. But then because of very busy schedule in weekend, I could not prepare the prefetching part properly, because prefetching part is I need at least one more day to prepare the basic concept properly, because you need to understand some basic concept before understanding the advanced level prefetching paper. So I have decided to start prefetching from tomorrow, and today I'll cover a topic that I was planning to cover after prefetching and NOC attacks, NOC concept. But this is also a very interesting concept. And but the one plus point here, explaining it at this point, is you may think about your term paper in this direction also, because the concept that I will again discuss today is related with security, that how to perform a security attack on the existing shared last level cache. So why I am giving more importance on security, there are 2 points. First is a lot of people are doing research in this area currently. So if you also do some research on hardware security, then it is high chance that you will be visible to the outside world. This is the first point. Second point is, even it's not like that if you just work on pure performance based, like proposing a new replacement policy, proposing a new partitioning attack, it's not like that you will not be visible. Those are also very core concepts. But nowadays what is happening, you should know some basics of security, because if you are proposing a new replacement policy, you should think about this direction also, that okay, is it possible to attack my replacement policy? So that's why understanding the basic concept of security is important for both researchers. That's why I'm spending some time on under explaining the concept of different security areas. And then the option will be free to you, that if you want to work on any security related issues, then also it is fine. And both we all three here, Dr. Kalyan, Dr. Niraj, and me, all three works in computers hardware security now. So it is you have a variety of faculties here, you can discuss any of us, and for your MTPs also. Okay, so I think in one of the lecture I have explained you the concept of covert channel attack, but I'll today I'll again repeating the concept in first 15 minutes. I'll repeat the concept, because now we have to understand the concept that I'm explaining here is also important for your course as well as term paper. So I think this attack is called covert channel attack, CCA. There is another attack like this called side channel attack that I am not covering here, and that may not, that will not be a part of your syllabus also. But I'll share a survey paper with you. Survey paper is written by Jaspinder, who is my PhD student. So read that survey paper once and try to understand the difference between side channel and covert channel. But for course syllabus, side only covert channel will be important, that we call as CCA, covert channel attack. So I think in one lecture I've already explained the concept of covert channel, but I'll quickly explain it again, because in future we'll use it for many things, and maybe in your future research also you can use the concept of covert channel attack. So suppose you have a this is a setup of multi-core. So I think you already know this setup, that there are two cores here, C1 and C2, both has their private caches. Here we are assuming only one level of private cache, that is L1. It may be possible that they have two levels of or three levels of private caches. That is same thing. And then they are sharing a last level cache here, LLC. Now, the covert channel attack means, suppose in this core C2 there is this core is a very secure core. Very secure means we only use this core for executing some secure informations, secure applications and all. And in C1 you can execute any other applications. So suppose somehow there is a Trojan application running in C2. That Trojan application knows some secret information of this from this code, some secret information that Trojan already knows. But now this Trojan wants to send this secret information, maybe it's a encryption key or this type of secret information, it wants to send from Trojan to spy application, the spy that is application that is running on core 1. But according to the security policy in modern multiprocessor system, direct communication between Trojan and spy may not be possible. So, what to do here? If direct communication is not possible, then how Trojan and spy can communicate with each other? This is the problem. Direct communication not possible means, suppose if direct communication possible means Trojan can write something on a block and spy can read the same block, right? So this type of direct communication will not be allowed with any, and that is already. So assume that this rule is already there. So in that case, how Trojan can send some information to spy? So for this, you have to understand what the information in computer science is a string of binary, right? Any information, whether it's a stack, it's a string of, it's a string, image, or anything, it's a encryption key. It will be just a sequence of binary, like 10010011110. It will be like a sequence of binary number, binary bits like this. This is the information. So if Trojan and spy can find out two mechanism, one mechanism to send binary bit 1 and another mechanism to send binary bit 0, then they can use these two mechanism repeatedly to send this type of information from Trojan to spy, and that is called covert channel communication. Because though there is no direct communication possible, they are secretly establishing a covert channel to communicate between them. Okay, so there are different techniques possible for performing this covert channel. One is called prime probe, that I'll explain. Prime probe is one technique. Then I think flash reload is another technique, and then I think evict. I forgot the name. I think there is a few more techniques are there, but I think if you understand prime probe and flash reload, then also it will be enough. Because most of the time, these type of attacks happens with prime probe. Okay, so prime probe attack will understand. So before understanding prime probe attack, one more important point that I'll explain here is very basic concept, that we the concept depends on the set associative cache, right? We know how set associative cache works. First we find out the set index, right? And based on the set index, block always map to a particular bank, particular set. First point. Second point is, we know the property of cache miss and cache hit, right? If there is a cache hit in last level cache, and if that time, if hit time is x, then if there is a miss in last level cache, then memory access time will be at least 100 into x, right? Because main memory is very, very slow as compared to the last level cache. So there will be a clear difference you can observe. So one more point you have to understand, if any of this core, if you are running application on core, it is possible to observe the difference, observe the means time gap to access. Suppose you request for a load instruction. Suppose this is a load instruction, and then it is possible to find out the time. Maybe here you start recording the time, and after completing the load instruction, again here you can observe the time. So it means that it is possible to observe the time required to access a block. It is possible from the application. And why I'm writing this load instruction, that in C program, there is a concept based on which you can directly run a assembly language code. So you can write a small assembly language code in this format, that there will be a load instruction here, and you can send a specific address here. Suppose address 1, you can send a specific address, and then you can measure the time required to access the address from the lower level memory, means from the memory. Okay, so if it is a hit in the cache, maybe in L1 and LLC, then also the maybe suppose you don't know that if the heat is in L1 or LLC, but still the time will be from, suppose from 0 or 1 nanosecond or 1 cycle to, suppose 1 cycle to, or if we go in time only, then suppose it is from 1 nanosecond to maybe sorry, 1 nanosecond to, suppose 100 nanosecond. But if it is a miss in cache, then maybe it will be 1000 nanoseconds. So there will be huge difference, and it is easily possible to understand that it was a, the block was a hit in the cache, or it was a miss in the cache. It can easily understand from this. So these are the three important properties. First property is based on set index, that I said. Second is time difference, that I said. And third, I said that it is possible to under measure by application the difference of when it's accessed for a block using load and store. Okay, one more point. These points are very very important. So I'm not writing these points. So what I can advise you that when you will watch this lecture again, you can note those points by in your rough sheet. Then that will be better for you to understand the concept before the exam. So I don't prepare slide here, and that's why I'm just explaining it here. So when you watch this video again, you just make this point, that point one, point two, point three, what I'm saying here. First point I said about set index, second point I said about hit miss difference, third point I said that it is possible to measure the difference, and then fourth point I'll what I'll mention here is also the property here, that suppose if a attacker knows, not just attacker, if a user knows the underlying architecture of a processor. For example, the laptop that I am using, there is a processor inside this laptop. Suppose I know the internal mechanism of that processor, that what replacement policy it is using, how many levels of cache memories are there, how many cores are there, which core is secure, which core is not secure. If all these things I know, then I can do few things. First, I can, if I know that which core is secure, which core is not secure, then I can bind a particular application to a particular core. For example, suppose I want to run my spy application on core one, then this type of commands are already there. You can find it in Linux. In Ubuntu also it is possible that you can attach a particular application to a particular core. So in this way, if you want to run Trojan on C2 purposefully, then also you can attach it to that core. If you want to run spy on a particular core, then you can attach it to the particular core. So that point is possible. Second point is, if the user or attacker knows the underlying policy, a cache structure, block size, everything, then it can also find out this thing, right? That okay, this how many bits are required for offset, how many bits are required for set index, right? It can also find this thing, and how many bits are there for tag. All this thing it can easily understand, right? So if this thing is understandable, that how many bits and which bits, means there are 64 bits, suppose there. So out of 64 bit, which bits, means bit number 10 to 20 or bit number 20 to 32, which bit range is using for set index. If attacker knows that, then what the attacker can do, first attacker will create a set of addresses which where this index is fixed. Suppose I want to fix this index to 00011. That means set number 3. So what this attacker will do, first it will create, so it will see this part, you can write anything here, right? And this part also you can write anything, just to keep this position fixed, 00011. So in this way you can create lot of addresses, right, where this part will be same but other part will be different. So in this way you can create a long list, and this list will be called eviction set. Okay, eviction set. I'll give you a survey paper, as I said. So when you'll read the survey paper, you'll understand this concept in a much better way. So in this way, this spy, I'll say this spy can create his own eviction set, and Trojan can also create his own eviction set. I hope you're understanding what is called eviction set. That I'll just create a set of address which are mapping to the same set, based on the same set, because I know the default mapping of the set associative cache that this processor is using. Okay, so a example maybe how in real C program you can do this. So what normally attacker can do, first they will use malloc or mmap or command to create a huge, reserve a huge memory space. Suppose you use a malloc and you create a array of array size of 500 or 1000. So based on this, they will create a huge address space like this, reserved for a huge address space in a C program. And then if you create a huge address space, you know the base address, right? So from base address, one by one, they will check all the addresses one by one, and then they will find out that in which address will satisfy this condition, that the set is this bits at 0001111. So they will scan here one by one all the addresses and try and find out these addresses, and they will add this address to the eviction set. Yes. So here I'm explaining that how it is possible to create a eviction set for a particular application. So in this way, they will create a eviction set. And once the eviction set creation will be separate for both spy and Trojan. You have to understand that spy and Trojan are two different applications. So in this way, both spy and Trojan can create their own eviction set. Okay. So this point I'll now I'll remove this, that what is called eviction set. Now, if the eviction set is ready, then how the attack will happen. First, I'll discuss about prime proof. So prime phase. So in prime phase, what happens is, suppose this is the set which is targeted by both Trojan and Spy, and this is pre-decided that okay, we'll target set number three, and based on this, they have already created their eviction set. So suppose eviction set Spy and eviction set Trojan is already planned. The eviction set means these are set of addresses going to a particular set. Okay. Now what this attacker can do, they can request for the addresses from this eviction set. So if they request all any address from, suppose if Spy request for any address that is stored in ES Spy, then what will happen, they'll go to a fixed set in the last level cache, right? And if Trojan also request for any of the block address, that is any of the block address that is stored in this set, then this will also go to same set number 3. So now in prime phase, what will happen, that the it will start with Spy. Then what in prime phase, what Spy will do, Spy will request for the block that whose those addresses are now stored in ES Spy. So suppose those addresses are A1, A2, A3, A4. Suppose these are the addresses. So after the prime phase, what will happen, that these blocks A1, A2, A3, if they are in cache or not, it's not very important at this point in prime phase. So if they are not in cache, we'll fetch them from main memory and store it in the last level cache, right? So after this prime phase, in prime phase, what this Spy do, Spy request for these addresses that is stored in ES Spy. So after this prime phase, or in this set number 3, suppose the set number 3 we are targeting, so in this set will be full with Spy's block, right? This is called prime phase. Now after the prime phase, the next phase is, you can say, wait phase. In this wait phase, Spy will simply wait to do something by the Trojan. So what Trojan will do, so Trojan has two options now. So if Trojan want to send this binary information, right, string of binary, so it will Trojan has two information. At any point, Trojan wants to send either binary bit 1 or binary bit 0. So if suppose if Trojan wants to send binary 1, then then what Trojan will do, sorry, if suppose if Trojan wants to send bit 0, then in wait phase, Trojan will do nothing. Trojan will do nothing if it wants to send bit 0. So if Trojan will if Trojan does nothing in this wait phase, then in probe phase, suppose in probe phase after wait phase, what will be the scene of this set number 3 will be remain same, right? You have to understand this point. If bit 0 in wait phase, if Trojan does nothing, then what will happen, that at probe phase, this set number 3 will still store A1, A2, A3, A4, right? But if Trojan want to send bit 1, then what Trojan will do, Trojan will also send some request from his own eviction set, that is ES Trojan. So from ES Trojan, Trojan will send some request. So if Trojan will send some request from ES Trojan, then those blocks all will conflict with the block that is currently stored in set number 3, because as I said, both ES Spy and ES Trojan are the set of addresses who are mapping to the same set. Okay, so in that case, what will happen, in if, sorry, not bit 1, it is bit 0, it is bit 1. So if Trojan send its own request from eviction set, then the set number 3 will change from A1, A2 to B1, B2, B3, B4. Assume that these are the B are the blocks of Trojan. So these are the two possible situation. If in wait phase, if it Trojan want to send bit 0, it will not do anything. So set 3 will remain same with A1, A2, A3, A4. And if it want to send bit 1, then it will change it from B1, B2, B3, B4. Now in probe phase, the Spy will again request for the same set of addresses that it has requested in prime phase. The same thing it will repeat in probe phase. So if again it will in probe phase, it will request for A1, A2, A3, A4, then you can observe the behavior. If Trojan wanted to send bit 0, then in that case, in probe phase, there will be all hit for Spy, all hit. And I hope I have already explained how to I am measure whether it's a hit or miss by an application, right? It's based on the time difference. There will be all hit in this case for Spy, because the set number 3 is same. But if during the wait phase, if Trojan changes the set like this, then in probe phase there will be all miss here. For the spy there will be all miss. So based on the time gap, because all hit means there will be very less time, all miss means there will be very high time. So based on this time difference, it is easy for the spy to understand that okay, Trojan want to send me bit 0. And if spy observe this all miss, then the spy will understand okay, Trojan want me send binary bit 1. So in this way, one bit can be transferred, and this process, if we repeat this process, then one by one all the string of binary information that we want, that Trojan want to send, this complete string can be transferred based on this. So there are some challenges here. One first challenge is how to sync between Trojan and spy. So there are, so all this concept I will not discuss now, so I'll just make it simple. If you understand this concept, that is enough. If you want to know more about this, how to, because spy and Trojan are two independent applications, how to make them means sync with each other, and how to start this prime probe attack, then now if you want to know more about this, then the paper that I'll share, you read it. And even after that, if anything is not clear, and if you think that you want to do more work in this area, then you can contact Jaspinder, or you can contact me, or you can contact my PhD student Jaspinder. She will help you to understand it. But yes, for course purpose, the concept that I'm explaining here will be enough. But if you want to do term paper in this area, then, and if you want to do something more about it, then you can always discuss with me or Jaspinder. Okay. So I think the basics of covert channel I have explained. So now I'll quickly explain you the flush reload attack. Flush reload attack has a common assumption, and reload attack assume that both Trojan and spy are sharing some sharing address space. Means the block that will be accessed by Trojan and the same block will be also accessed by spy. So this is an assumption for flush reload. Without that, flush reload is not possible. But maybe you can still consider that though they can share the address space, they cannot write on the shared address, because if they can write on the shared address, then it will be very easy to share the data between Trojan and spy, right? But assume that writing is not possible, but at least they can share the address space between spy and Trojan. Then in that case, the ES spy and ES Trojan, that these two, the addresses that it may be the common address. Previously in prime probe, there they can be complete unique addresses. It's not required that the spy and Trojan share any address block in prime probe, but in flash reload, it is a requirement. So you can say that eviction set will be only one here, and that eviction set will be used by both spy and Trojan. And again, they will attack a particular set. So suppose again, assume that they will attack a particular set called 3. So first phase is called flush phase. So in first flush phase, it will start by spy. What it will do, it will remove all the blocks from this cache. There is a instruction here, instruction available in cache in modern processors, where if using this instruction, you can flush a cache memory. So suppose the cache memory is flushed now. The set is now flushed. So it is empty in flush phase. And then in wait phase, since it is, as I said, that here there is only one eviction set, and Trojan and spy will use the same eviction set. Then here again for 0, suppose Trojan will not do anything. It will not do nothing. Okay. And for bit 1, the Trojan will load a request from this eviction set. So after this wait phase, this set will be loaded with some blocks. Suppose blocks are called A1, A2, A3, A4, A5. Okay, these are the two situations. So if for bit 0, this set will be still empty, and for bit 1, the set is now full. So now in reload phase, the spy will request for this block A1, A2, A3, A4, A5. The spy will request for this block. If spy will request for this block, what will happen here in this case? There will be all miss, right? And in this case, there will be all hit. So again, there is a time difference, and based on this time difference, it can easily identify that okay, it wants to send 0 or it wants to send 1. Okay, so this is called flash reload attack. Here, the assumption is that the blocks are shared. So when you'll read more about it, you'll understand that it is possible. There are some techniques possible to forcefully to force to application to use some shared case. You can merge the pages of two application. This type of forcing something and force to application to share some address space, this type of attacks are also possible. So even if there are two independent application, it is possible to force this application and share some common address space. That is possible. But still, what I'll do, I'll say that flush reload, if you just know the concept, that will be enough. And if you want to work in this area, first try with Prime Pro. Okay, so all these things that I have explained here, I've explained it for covert channel communication, right? There is another concept called side channel communication. In side channel communication, there will not be two application. Here there are two application, right? Spy and Trojan, both are actually attacker application, right? You know what is called Trojan, right? We know it from the movie called Troy, right? So the purpose of Trojan, so you can say that Trojan is also attacker application, right? So in and it's just both Trojan and spy are establishing a covert channel, and they are communicating some secret information from one channel or one code to another code. But if it is not covert channel, in side channel, there will be only one attacker application, and that attacker application will try to steal the secret information from some other innocent application. That is called side channel attack. So there will be one attacker application, and that attacker application will do something in such a way that it will target the innocent application that is running on other codes, and it will try to collect the secret information. For example, the AES encryption key or some other encryption key. It will try to steal those secret information from the innocent application. And for that also, the techniques required are same: prime, proof, flash reload. These same techniques and the same difference between hit and miss, the same difference will be applied there also to establish the side channel attack. So, but as I said here, for this course, I'm not concentrating on side channel. I'm only concentrating on covert channel here. And after in addition to covert channel, I think I have already explained you that there are some attacks which are called, we normally call DOS attack. Okay, denial of service attack. In DOS attack, you can consider like performance degradation attack. So there is the attacker who has no intention to steal anything. Okay, but it's know that, okay, I know the underlying policy of processor, let us just degrade the performance of this processor. Okay, so how it can degrade the performance? It can write attacker application in such a way that it will degrade the performance. For example, we know the partitioning technique called UCP. How it can, if someone can write an application in such a way that it can misuse the power of UCP and degrade the performance. It's like a robot we have designed, right? And someone has changed its policy, and now it is doing destructive work, like this. Or you can do DOS attack like this, as I said, in STDRAM. Maybe you can misuse those technique that we use for uniform writes and all to degrade the performance, means to degrade the lifetime of a non-volatile memory. So those are called DOS attacks. So you can think about DOS attacks also. You can also think about CCA. Okay, so what I was planning that I'll take one lecture on this. I think it will be better to take two lectures. It's not. I'll continue this lecture in this concept in next lecture also, and I'll discuss some more concept on randomized cache and all. So those concepts are normally used to prevent this type of side channel attacks. So I'll discuss those technique in next lecture. What will happen that otherwise it is better to, if I started this concept, let us finish it, and then I'll start on the next area. And this area is very interesting also. So tomorrow also I'll just explain two concepts. So if you understand the prime probe attack and flash reload attack, then maybe you realize that the main problem here is the behavior of cache, right? It is not that even if your software is very secure, even all the software has all the secure encryption techniques are implemented, but still these type of attacks are possible because of the behavior of the cache. You cannot change the behavior of hit and miss, right, in general. Now the question is it possible to make all the accesses from the memory uniform, right? Means whether it's a hit or miss, it will take same time. So in that way, one thing is that for heat also, you just keep it waiting for some time and then send. So this is a wastage of power, right? You have a cache memory which can serve you much faster if there is a hit, but you are saying that no, I'll hold the request as such that the attacker should not observe the hit and miss difference. But there are many issues. You cannot go with this because this is not this is not the correct solution, right? And also, you never know which application is attacker first of all, right? So the concept here is, if somehow you can randomize the memory access, like if based on the hit and miss time difference, means based on the time difference, if it is not possible for the attacker to understand that it was a binary hit or binary zero, then that you can prevent this technique. There are many possible ways. So both me and my first PhD student Jaspinder is working in this area. One technique is that is very common nowadays is called randomized cache, and my new PhD student Prathamesh also started working in this area. Randomized cache में क्या बोलते हैं कि suppose here in set associative case, what happens that a block will always map to a particular set, right? So in randomized case, what they said, no, dynamically the mapping of the block will change. So at this time, suppose in time one, the block B1 is mapping to set number 0. That after some time, suppose at Tn, in that time the block B1 mapping will change, and now the block B1 may map to a new set that is called suppose the last set. So if the mapping of this block changes dynamically, then it will be difficult for the attacker to create a eviction set. So these type of caches are called randomized cache. I think I'll explain randomized cache in more detail in next lecture and not explain it today. Uh, so I think in other course also, I think Dr. Kalyan will also explain randomized case. But since there are only 3 students who are in both lectures, so others except of these students, for other students it will be new concept. And I think you should know this concept because you already know the basics of cache memory. You should know the what are the misuse of this cache memory. So this one cache technique is called randomized cache. In this randomized cache, you can dynamically change the set index. Now the B1 is mapping to this set. After some time, the set will map to a new set, and that also the this mapping will be, there will be encryption here. For example, if this is the set index, then based on this is the encryption mechanism, and there will be new set index will become, this is the encrypted mechanism. So it will be very difficult for the attacker to find out that okay, maybe based on this set index bit they can only find out that okay, this is the set index, but there will be encryption mechanism here which will change this set index bit to a new set index. And also this encryption mechanism is changing, and dynamically the set index will change. Mapping will of one block will change from one set to another dynamically. So this is called randomized cache, and they prove that based on randomized cache, the side channel attack as well as covert channel attack can be prevented. They have already explained it. But there are a lot of disadvantages also, and there are a lot of challenges also possible here. Let us not go to this part because there are a lot of advantage, lot of things need to be done here. That's why my new PhD student Prathamesh also started working in this area. So if you want to know more about randomized cache, you can discuss with Prathamesh. If you want to know about any generic prime proof attack kind of thing, prime proof attack, side channel attack, then you can discuss with Jaspinder. Okay. And yes, I am always here. If you want to discuss with me, then you can also discuss with me. Okay. So I think prime proof ho gaya. Randomized cache I'll again explain tomorrow. So let us stop randomized cache wala part here. Another option to prevent this prime proof attack where people think one direction is randomized cache. People are still working on randomized cache. There are still conflicts are there. Some people say randomized cache is not completely secure. Some people say no, it's secure. Work is going on, and at least again till 5-6 more years people will work on this, and maybe after 5-6 more years maybe we'll get a conclusion that whether randomized cache is secure or not. Okay, but you can still work on this area. It is open area. Another option that people and most of the industries nowadays are thinking to handle this type of prime probe attack, means this type of timing difference attack. We normally call them timing channel attack. Means side channel ho या covert channel ho, जो time difference के basis पे attack करते हैं, we normally tell them timing channel attack. So the industries currently they are thinking about alternative solution for this timing channel attack, and that is called cache partitioning. Okay, I think you already know what is called cache partitioning. So suppose this is your cache. Suppose only there are 3 sets, and this is your set associative cache. Right? Cache partitioning means if you can partition the cache inside. Suppose I have given a partition here, static partition. Okay, this site can be used by C1, and this only single core can be used by C2. So if this is the partition, then then this type of attack can be prevented, right? Because if you see the prime probe attack or flash reload attack, what is the main base of their attack? The main base of their attack is they are evicting each other's block, right? If they cannot evict each other's block, then no attack is possible, right? So in that case, how prime probe attack can be handled? Suppose a1, a2, a3, a4 is here, right? Yeah, is here. Now, in wait phase, suppose Trojan wants to load his own block, then Trojan has only this location to load, right? C2 has only this location. It cannot evict A1, A2, A3, A4. Since it cannot evict A1 and A2 and A4, it cannot establish the prime proof attack here. So partitioning is a technique which industry is currently using to handle this type of attacks. But the partitioning that I am showing here is called static partitioning, right? You already know the concept of static partitioning here. So the basic goal is, if there is a static partitioning in last level cache, then this type of attack is not possible. Side channel attack, covert channel attack, or I'm not saying impossible, because there may be some other possible way, but as per the existing literature and as per the existing research, if there is a static partition exists, then this type of attack is not possible. But you know the disadvantage of static partitioning, right? Even at 2007 also, there are people propose UCP, right? Utility based cache partitioning, which is a dynamic partitioning technique. Why it was required at 2007 to go with dynamic partitioning? Because we know the disadvantage of static partitioning. I don't want to repeat it here, I have already explained it pre-meeting, right? So even if we want to go with partitioning, it is better to go with dynamic partitioning. Now the question is, if we go with dynamic partitioning, do you think that the cache will be again secure? So initially people were thinking in this direction, that no, even if we go for dynamic or static, that doesn't matter, because once you partition this cache, it is partitioned, right? Suppose dynamic according this is the suppose if we discuss about dynamic partitioning, and this is the current partition. Okay, so partition is here now. So in this case also, C2 cannot remove C1's block, right? And after some time, suppose partition removed from here, suppose this is partition removed for here, from here, and now the partition is here, partition is here now, and in that case also, now this is C1 suppose, and this is C2. In that case also, C1 cannot evict C2's block. So technically, either dynamic partition or static partition, in both partitioning technique, the one application cannot evict another application's block, if unless the partitioning technique allows. Because there are some partitioning technique, I think I have discussed or not. I've last time I have discussed, I think this time I have not discussed PIPP. I think I have not discussed PIPP, right? In I forgot if I discussed PIPP or not. So this type of PIPP or CCPIP, this type of partition, dynamic partitioning, allows to remove each other blocks. But except this, the partitioning technique like UCP normally don't allow to evict each other's application block. Okay, so in this sense, people are thinking that both dynamic and static partitioning are secure for timing channel attack. So my I think on uh, your senior batch is Prathamesh batch, right? And Prathamesh senior batch was in the batch, so MTech batch, who was the senior of Prathamesh batch. And that batch, there was my one of my student is called Anurag Agarwal. So Anurag Agarwal and me work on this problem, and we proved that if the underlying partition technique is dynamic, then again this type of covert channel attack possible. So that paper is here. I think if let me share it. So this paper is published in date 2021, exploiting the secrets by leveraging dynamic cache partitioning of last level cache. So in this paper, we have explained that, we explained that if the even if the last level cache has a dynamic partitioning technique, so and then also if the dynamic partitioning technique is there, then a covert channel attack possible on it. Though the people were assuming that covert channel is not possible if a partitioning technique is there, then but we prove that dynamic hai to attack possible. Static means no attack, but dynamic means attack is still possible. So this Jaspinder Kaur was also a part of this work, so she also knows this work better. So if you want to know more detail about this work, you can discuss with Jaspinder. Anurag Agarwal is now working with DRDO. He is not available now. So, but if you want to contact, you can contact with him also. Okay, so I think it is already 4:40, 9:46, but I'll start explaining this paper, but I think I need at least 15, 16 more minutes. So I'll end this explanation in next lecture. And what I'll do, I'll combine these two lectures and I'll upload it after tomorrow's lecture. Okay, so if you want to know more about this between today and tomorrow, then you can search Prime Pro Beta on internet, or you can what you can do, you can go to my home to my if you go to my web page and click the publication link, you will see the paper of Jaspinder Kaur here. See, a survey of cache timing channel attack. You can read this paper. If you just click on this link that I've shared, then there is a online, you can read the paper online. So you can just click on this link, you can read the initial 2 3 pages. If you read initial 2 3 pages, you'll understand what are the different types of attack are possible in modern days on cache memories. Okay, so what is our main base of doing a covert channel attack on dynamic cache partitioning based LLC? So again, for this, we assume that the underlying LLC first will I'll explain it for UCP based cache partitioning. We show this that this type of attack is possible. Even the cache partitioning technique is different type of dynamic cache partitioning technique. So UCP proposed in 2007, right? I think PIPP proposed in 2010. It is PIPP. Then CCPIP is proposed in 2012. And I think Anurag also showed that some paper from 2019. I forgot the partitioning, so I'll just write P1. So we show that in all this dynamic partitioning technique, covert channel attack is possible. So what is the main base? So to understand the base, you need to revise the concept of UCP. I hope you know the basics. If you don't remember, I'll quickly remind it. And since there will be a merger of two video lectures here, so there will be continuation will be maintained. Okay, so suppose there are two cores, generally C1 and C2. Okay, and this is the last level cache. I'm not showing L1 caches here. So normally there are two utility monitor used, right? This is called umon. So this is for C1, and there will be another umon here, right? Umon, this is for C2, right? And these two the Emon module monitors the behavior of C1 and C2, and based on these partition chains, right? If this is the time T1, then after at this time T2, based on the behavior of these two utility monitor, the partition will change. Suppose partition is now X comma Y, and then after this, at this stage again, based on this behavior, maybe the partition will change to A comma B, suppose, and it will continue like this. And we know this concept already, right? And this is the set associative case. And partition means way partition means give 3 ways to this core cell, remaining ways to that core, like this. Now the next thing that this UCP does is, if you remember, that it is not possible to observe the behavior of all the set because of hardware overhead and all, right? So what they do is they normally target some fixed set, right? Fixed number of set, or a small subset, like maybe this. Suppose this is normally they go with 32 set, but I cannot show you 32 set because my diagram has less set now. So just assume that they use some small number of set, and they just observe the behavior of this set. And these set you can say as the dynamic sampling set sampling, right? You can say these are the DSS sets. So there will be some sampling set and they just observe the behavior of these sampling sets, and based on the behavior of this sampling set, they decide the partition for the entire cache. So suppose these are the sample set, and these two utility monitor are behaving the observing the behavior of this set only. And the partition change that you can see in T2 or T3, these partition change are not for sampling set, right? These partition change are for all the cache set here. So this is the main point here. The observation is for only the sample set, that is called DSS set, right? And the outcome is applied to all the set. So from this point, we build up the attack. So how we build up the attack? We took one assumption, and that assumption is if attacker knows which are the sample set. Maybe one person, you can also ask me a question that how it is possible. Suppose the sample sets are changing, or attacker, how it is possible to understand the attacker that this which are the sample set. So there is a separate paper on it. I forgot the name now. So it is also, even if the processor manufacturer will not disclose and the user is not known that which are the set using for sampling the cache, there is a mechanism, it's called reverse engineering mechanism, based on which it is possible to identify which are the set the cache memory is using for as the sample set. Okay, so I'll share that paper with you if it is required. But to understand this proposal, you can assume that attacker knows that which are the sample set. So now if attacker knows which are the sample set, then what are the possible damage, what are the damage possible? I think now you can easily guess that if the attacker knows the sample set, what it can do. Attacker may create a false impression that, okay, I need more space. Give me give me a bigger partition. Attacker can create this type of false impression. How it can create? Because here the attacker can only attacker need to impress only the sample set, right? So forgot about this set. I'll make a circle here, maybe bigger circle. Forgot about this set. I'm making this type of marking here. इन सेट का कोई जरूरत ही नहीं है. Attacker will just try to impress the sample set. And if attacker knows a bigger partition, then what it will do in a particular time frame, attacker will target this set and it will send a lot of requests in this set in such a way that there will be a lot of misses it will face here. How it is possible? Again, creating of eviction set. In time of prime probe, I explained you how to create eviction set for a particular set, right? If you remember, I said it to create eviction set for set number 3 only. The same process you can use, and you can create a eviction set for all the set, right? All the sample set here, like sample set are 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Suppose there are 5 set here for eviction. So for all the 5 set, it can create eviction set, and it will create eviction set in such a way that if we can request it multiple times, then there will be miss every time. How it is possible? If it can create a tracing trace, right? Suppose associativity is 8 here, and it can create a eviction set for set 1 for 16 blocks, right? And if you know that underlying replacement policy is LRU, then every time if you repeat this tracing trace, then every time there will be a miss here, right? So in this way, the attacker application creates some eviction set, and in based on this eviction set, what it can do, it can repeatedly, if it will repeatedly access this block, then what will happen? It will give a false impression that this attacker application need larger partition. So what will happen at the time T2, attacker will get larger partition. Suppose attacker will get partition here. This is possible, right? And the same way, if suppose attacker means spy, I said about spy. If the Trojan want to do the same thing, okay, suppose this is the current partition. After some time, Trojan want to know, I want to move the partition from this point to this point. Then Trojan will also follow the same policy. It will target this sample set, and after some time, Trojan will successfully able to change the partition from this location to this location. So today I'll only explain that if Trojan, or if any, I'm saying about attacker application, assume that attacker application can be spy or Trojan. So if a attacker application wants to change the cache partition according to his or her wish, then it is possible for them if they know which are the sample set. Okay, so partition can be changed according to their wish. So this is the first point. Again, the question you may ask is, sir, partition change हो रहा है तो क्या हुआ? If partition is changing, but if there are two independent partition, how can they evict each other blocks? Because according to the cache partitioning, even it is static or dynamic, they cannot evict each other block. That I'll discuss in next class. But today I hope this point is clear, that at least if the sample set is known, then this type of partition change is possible by attacker. And all this technique, I think I removed it. I show you some year-wise partitioning technique, like 2007 UCP, then PIPP, CCPIP, and some recent partitioning technique. All these partitioning technique were based on this sample sets. So if there is a partition technique which is based on sample set and based on this utility monitor and all, then all those partition technique, the partition can be changed by attacker. Okay, so from this point I'll start again in tomorrow's lecture, and I'll explain you that if partition changing is possible by attacker, then how the covert channel attack can be established. So this is our first page of work. Then there is lot of means extra work possible in this direction. And by end of tomorrow's lecture, I'll give you some possible direction where people can work, and it's not just a term paper. You can do your means more research in this area, even MTP plus if you are thinking for higher PhD and all, then also you can work in these areas, because there are a lot of work possible in these areas. Why lot of work possible? Because I think in last class I said one term, right, that in last 20-25 years there are a lot of advancement happened in the area of computer architecture, especially in memory structure, right? If we only concentrate on cache memory, then a lot of advancement happened in last 25 years. But most of the time we assume that the world is innocent. We never think that how if someone will know the underlying structure, and if someone will purposefully create an application to do this type of thing like partition change, prime probe, at that time we never thought this type we think like this. So we thought assume their world is innocent, but now we know that this is not the case. So now it's time to revisit all the problem, all the development, all the advancement, all the interesting proposal that happened, like RRIP, DIP, Hawkeye. Those are very interesting proposal, right? Now it's time to check again these all interesting proposal. It's such me interesting hai ki nahi, if there is a attack possible or not. And attack possible के लिए जो counter measure बन रहा है, right? There are some counter measure already there. So if we use those counter measure on Hawkeye, if we those counter measure on a cache where RRIP is there, performance के ऊपर क्या impact आ रहा है? So that's why the area is now again open, and lot of research is going on in this area. So I'll stop here. If you have any question regarding whatever I explained today, you can ask me now, and I'll continue this topic tomorrow also.
Hello.
Hello, simple.
Sir, I have a general question not related to today's lecture. So, what is hot block and cold block?
Hot block and cold block in terms of cache memory operating system. In you please mention in terms of cache memory, you were saying?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Hot block means the blocks which are repeatedly using. Okay, and suppose you have this is your set, and there are block like A1, A2, A3, A4, A5, A6. Out of this, suppose this A5 and A6 are not using much. Okay, they are not using much, but A1, A2, A3, and A4 they are repeatedly using. So you can say these blocks are hot blocks, and A5 and A6 are cold blocks. Okay.
Okay, sir.
And one more thing, I think, are you do you ask this? You are asking this question because I think in one of the class I explained warm up concept. Are you asking it from that point of view, that warm up thing, or not?
No, sir. Actually, I came this concept recently. I was reading some research papers.
Okay, then whatever I explained is it is correct, that hot block and cold block means though the block which is accessing rapidly, we normally call them hot block. But in that thing I said about means warm up part, because in simulation what we'll do, we'll normally warm up the cache. Warm up the cache means in simulation we normally say that this set is cold now. Why cold? Because if you can assume that when you are starting your computer, nothing is there in cache, right? So at that time you will load something to the cache. The first time when you load something to the cache, that normally call it capacity miss. So at that time we call that, okay, the cache is cold. And after some time, suppose you start executing from here, and after some time at this time at T1, now your cache is completely loaded. So now your cache is warmed up. And in simulation what we do, we reset all the counters here, and then we'll start executing it. And maybe at the end we'll count the number of misses and all. So the number of misses observed here we normally don't consider. So that is called warm up period. Before warm up we consider cache as cold. So that is a different concept. And if you say about hot block, cold block, then I have already explained that.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Any other, sir? Is there any built-in STDM module in Gem5 simulator? Unfortunately, not. This is Pasana. This is a major problem. So if you can contact with one person, I think the author that I said जिसका पेपर मैंने पढ़ाया था ना, my junior from IIT Guwahati. So you can Sukan
Sir,
Agar, yeah. So Sukan has this STTM module on Gem 5. He has developed by his own. But if you want to work on Gem 5, then you can contact with him. You can get his email IDs and all. So he is now doing postdoc, I think, in UK. So you can discuss with him, and maybe he can help you in this matter. And at this moment I don't have, and also Gem 5 is not this type of module. But one idea here is, you can do a shortcut here is, you can just somehow try to do the read and write variation, do some code such that you can write can take longer time, read can take lesser time. If you do this, then I think it is not much difficult, it will not be much difficult task to implement STTRM in Gem 5.
yes, sir. Sir, the latency variations that is okay, but the endurance problem is also there in STT RAM. So modeling that would be
Yeah,
tricky.
endurance problem. I think what did you read the papers of this Sukan, where they have calculated the life cycle of STDM? I think they also don't implement the endurance. They just calculate the life cycle. Means if there is a multiple rides happening on a particular location, then how the lifetime will vary. I think they only consider this endurance. I think they don't consider any counters and all for endurance.
Okay, sir.
You just read that, how read the paper and find out that how they have calculated the life cycle. There is a equation there for calculating life cycle. And if you want to really want to measure the endurance, then you can just use some counters and all. But that is possible, but I think I don't think it is required.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? If there is no question, then I'm quickly reminding you that if any of you are planning to withdraw your code, then give me a call, because I should, according to the rule, I should show you the answer script by today, but unfortunately I could not able to do so. So if any of you are thinking that you want to withdraw a course, then just give me a call and we'll discuss the situation, and I can, at that time, I can advise you that you should drop it or not. Okay, so today is the last date of dropping the course, that's why I'm saying it. So I'll stop the presentation here. You can leave now. Thank you for joining. Okay, thank you. Okay, so and we'll continue the concept that we discussed in last class. And from last class we were discussing the covert channel attack, and how a covert channel attack is possible on cache partitioning techniques, especially if there is a dynamic cache partitioning technique, then how on top of dynamic cache partition, covert channel attack is possible. So why we are discussing this paper is mainly the covert channel attack that I have explained in last class. That is called covert channel attack, or SCA, side channel attack. These type of attacks are normally called timing channel attack, because they normally performed using the timing difference of cache hit and cache miss. So there are two mitigation direction where people are working. One is partition the cache, or partition the LLC, which is actually the shared cache, right? Or another one is called randomized cache. So randomized cache also I'll explain today. Partition the LLC, the concept I've already started explaining from last lecture. So in this part, I have mentioned that these attack, that is CCA and SCA, they are timing channel based attack, right? And in last class I've explained that these timing channel based attacks are only possible because they evict each other blocks in the target set. So if in the target set they can evict each other's block, then only this type of attack is possible. So if you partition the cache in such a way that you fix the number of ways for each application, then they cannot evict each other blocks. And if they cannot evict each other's block, then there should not be any timing channel attack. So this was the main motto, and that's why these are the two techniques people use for as a countermeasure for this type of attack. But what today we'll discuss that, no, it's not like that. You cannot conclude that these are the two countermeasures and you can directly use them. It is not possible, because maybe partitioning, using partitioning, we can defend it, but there are some loopholes in partitioning also. So one of the loopholes that we will discuss today, that we proposed last year. And then so it's not like that we are saying that partitioning is not at all possible to use for countermeasure. It's not like this. We are saying that maybe partitioning can be used, but see, there are some issues in partitioning also, and we have to handle these issues before proposing any countermeasure using partition. Okay. The point where I stopped in last lecture, I was explaining you that if someone knows the sample set of UCP based partitioning, that in UCP based partitioning there are some sample sets, right? So in last class I explained that these are my sample sets. So again, if this is your sample sets, and then if someone can target this sample set to change the partition, and that also I have explained in last class, like this part I've explained that if your partition is now here, after some time the partition can be changed from here to here, if a attacker knows the target set. So why it is easy for attacker to change the partition? Because the behavior utility is measured only for the sample set. So sample sets are limited set, right? So it is easy for the attacker to target this limited set and change the partition according to his or her wish. Okay. So based on this assumption, let us discuss discuss the technique. So technique is here. So this is the technique that we have proposed. So I'll share the paper also today. So I'll merge this two lecture, this previous lecture and today's lecture, and I'll upload it today. So when I'll upload it at the same with this, I'll also upload the paper. I'm advising you to read the paper once, so you'll understand all the small concept. I'll not explain every thing written here, because I think I have already explained it in upper level. So I'll directly go and start explaining from this point. So before starting this, one more point, I think this point is also important to clear. Suppose there is a set, I'm only considering one particular set. Suppose there is a set and these are the ways, and currently the partition is at this moment, assume that this is the partition. Okay, so now suppose here these blocks are for application B and these blocks are for application A. After some time, if the partition changes, suppose this is the partition, so after some time, suppose partition moves from here to here, this is the new partition. The arrow that I am marking, assume that this is the new partition. So immediately when the partition changes, so this is now not a partition, right? So you can see, what about these two B? These two B are not in its own partition, right? Because according to the new partition, application B should have only one block. But at present, just after changing the partition, you can see application B has 3 blocks, right? So what do you think what to do here? If you remember the UCP paper, then it's not we are not doing anything, that just after changing the partition, we don't remove this B from the cache. We just left it to the replacement policy. So what partition change means, it will simply change the partition, but the remaining 2 B's, they will mark as extra. So next time when application A will request for something, at that time, one by one these blocks will be removed, not immediately. It's not like their partition change means we have to remove this block immediately, we have to vacate this position and make room for application A. It's not like this. Partition will just change, but the blocks will remain as it is, and the remaining thing will be handled by replacement policy. Replacement policy will remember that, okay, partition has changed now, so according to this new partition, we get only one way. So next time when it will try to select a victim, it will select a victim from B, because it knows that B has extra ways there in the cache. So this is how a partition change happens. So this is very important. You have to understand this point. So with this, let us go and try to understand the attack. So here there will be two sets. Suppose, see, there is one set here using figure 1. In figure 1, this is a particular set, and the same set we are using for all the stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4, stage 5, stage 6. In all these stages, we are just showing one particular set at different time, that how it is behaving. Okay, so and we need some more set, right? So these are the sample sets. Suppose these are separate set, assume they are the set that I'm saying. Suppose here the set is called set X. So this set X is excluding the sample set. Sample sets are different. So why this sample set, you know the purpose of sample set in UCP based partitioning, right? So again, here what it will do, that if the attacker wants to change the partition for the entire cache, then it will just target this sample set, and based on targeting the sample set, it can change the partition. Okay, but when it will change the partition, that change partition will be applied to all the set. I hope this point is clear to you. Okay, so suppose how the attack is happening. So I'll quickly recreate the concept so that you should remember it. Though I have explained it in last class, that there are two codes, C1 and C2. They have their private cache, and maybe they are and then assume that they are sharing a last level cache here, which is a set associative cache. Okay, and assume that there is a Trojan running in C2, which knows a very secure information, and this Trojan want to communicate the information to a spy application running in C1. Okay, these are the two application running. Okay, so and as I said, there is no direct communication possible, and also in this paper we assume that Trojan and spy are not sharing any block. Okay, they are only sharing the last level cache. And and in last class I have also explained what is called eviction set, that because of we know the mapping of each set. Mapping of each set means how they are, maybe because this is a set associative cache, we assume that we know the index, set index and all. Okay, so based on this, spy and Trojan can will create two eviction set here in this example. And I think in last class I said only one eviction set for each, right? Here there will be two eviction set. So suppose E1 S is E1 spy, E2 spy. There will be two eviction set for spy, and for Trojan again same, T1 spy and T2 spy. There will be two eviction set here for spy and for Trojan. Sorry. Sorry. Better write it like this only. Spy 1, spy 2. नहीं. Eviction set 1 spy ठीक है. Then eviction set 2 spy. Then eviction set 1 Trojan. Eviction set 2 Trojan. I hope you know what is how to create eviction set. In last class I've explained it. Why there are two eviction set. So the first eviction set here and the first eviction set here, these eviction set will target the sample set. So their eviction set, there will be a set of addresses only targeting the sample set, and in such a way they will target the sample set. For example, suppose Trojan the spy wants to change the partition. Okay, so what it will do, it will start sending requests from its ES1 spy from this list, in such a way that all these requests will go to the sample sets, and it will go in sample set in such a way that it will create more and more misses in sample set. If it will create more misses in sample set, then after a particular time the partitioning technique will realize that okay, this particular application, that is spy, needs more space, so it will give him more space, so partition will increase in its favor. The same thing can be done by Trojan also. So using its ES1 Trojan. Okay, this ES1 Trojan. So these are the two eviction set, ES1 Trojan and ES1 spy. This two eviction set will be used by to change the partition. And the other eviction set that you can say ES2 spy or ES2 Trojan, these is the eviction set. It's actually will be used for the prime proof attack that I have explained in last class. So in last class I explained a prime proof attack, where I also explained that the concept of eviction set. Okay, so that eviction set concept will be here. This is ES2 spy and ES2 Trojan. Okay, so now let us start explaining the concept again here. So in stage one, so suppose we are targeting a particular set, that is set number this set. Then this set I'm saying X, and as I already said, this assume that this set is outside of the sample set, and this set is excluded. It will be easy to understand if we go in this with this assumption. Okay, so in stage one, so in stage one, again it's if you remember in prime proof there were three stages, right? Prime, wait and proof. But here there are 6 stages. It's not 3 stages. There are 5 stages. In stage 1, suppose this is the current state of the set X. So in this case, first what the spy will try to do, spy will try to change the partition in its favor. So it will try to take the control of maximum cache space. So you can see in stage 1 what this prime will spy will do. It will start sending requests from its ES1 spy list, and which all the requests will go to the sample set, and it will create maximum messages in sample set. So after some time, what will happen, partition will change, and you can see in stage 2 partition is changed. Partition is changed from this position to this position. So this is the first step. This is the first step. That first step is done. Partition has been changed by the spy. So once partition change is done, so what happened, that partition change will be done in all the sets. So that point is important. So in stage 1, to change the partition, what happens, yeah, the spy targeted only this sets, right, this sets, sample set. But when partition change, this partition change applied to all the set, and hence this that change partition is also applied to set X. And now you can see the set X observe the partition change. After changing the partition, what it will do in stage 3, this is the actual prime stage, the prime stage that I've explained in last lecture. That prime stage will be applied here. So in this stage, what will happen, that spy will request for again, it will request for new blocks for targeting this set X using this eviction set. This eviction set is a set of address which is targeting set X. So after changing the partition, it will the spy will request for some block which are actually from ES2, which are targeting set X. So what will happen, after some time, this set X will be filled with spice block. See all these green blocks, blues are actually spice block, and yellow are actually Trojan's block. So you can see the stage 3, the set is now full with a spice block. Obviously this will be empty because of partition, right? We cannot go for the spy cannot store anything here because of partition. Okay, so stage 3 done. After stage 3 complete, then now the next is the Trojan's turn. So now if Trojan the next through 2 stages, stage 4 and stage 5, these are the Trojan stage. So now there are 2 possibility for Trojan, right? If Trojan want to send binary bit 0 or bit 1. So first here we assume that Trojan want to send bit 1. So if Trojan want to send bit 1, then in stage 2 it will not do anything. In stage 5 it will not do anything. Okay. So what is stage 4? Stage 4 is actually to change the partition, and stage 5 is actually to a request for new block from the Trojan. So you can see if Trojan want to send bit 1, then it will not do anything in stage 4 and stage 5. So to understand stage 4 and stage 5, let us go to the condition that is mentioned in the right side, that is transmitting bit 0. So transmitting bit 0, so you have to start with stage 3. So this is, you can check, this is stage 3. So now this is the current situation of set number X. So now if Trojan want to send 0, then what Trojan will do, first Trojan will change the partition. So to change the partition, Trojan will use this eviction set, right? ES1 Trojan, and based on this, so all this request will again go to this, right? It will go to this set, and now Trojan will access this sample set in such a way that there should be maximum number of misses. So it will give a false impression that this particular application Trojan wants more partition. So partition will be changed according to his wish, and when partition will change, that change will also be visible in set number X. So this is happening in stage 4, and see now the partition of set number X is changed. Previously you can see the in stage 3 partition was in right side, now the partition is moved to the left side. Okay, so but now when the partition will change, even after partition change, you can see in stage number 4, you can concentrate here. In stage number 4, still the ways are still blue. Why? Because I've just explained that when you change the partition, after changing the partition, immediately we do not remove the blocks, right? The block removal is left to the replacement policy. Okay, so now in stage 5, what it will do, in stage 5, Trojan will target set X. So using this ES2 Trojan. So this eviction set ES2 Trojan based on this. So now Trojan will start requesting blocks from this address eviction set. So if Trojan start requesting from this eviction set, then all these requests are targeting to a particular set, that is set X. So what will happen in after stage 5, all this set will be now filled with the blocks of Trojan, right? Stage 5 ho gaya. So now you understood the stage 4 and stage 5. Stage 4 is that if Trojan wants to change the partition according to his requirement, okay, and stage 5 is the actually if Trojan will access some block such that if it wants to fill the set, that is set X. So stage 4, stage 5 done. Now you can check stage 6. In stage 6, the spy will again request for is the block. If you remember last class, then prime, wait, and probe. So this is the actual probe stage. In probe stage, the spy will again request for his block from the ES2 spy. From this ES2 spy, the spy will again request for this set of addresses. So in this case, there are two possibilities, right? In this side, spy will get all maximum hits, right? And in this side, the spy will get maximum misses. So maximum hit means on average that access time will be less. So it will consider that it's a binary 1. And in the right side, you can see maximum, for maximum cases, the spy will face miss. So the overall access time will be high. Why it will face miss here? Because you can see in stage 5, Trojan has already removed the blocks of spy, right? And then that's why here you can see there is a timing difference possible, and based on the timing difference you can assume that it's binary bit 1 or it's binary bit 0. You can also change it, right? You can assume this side as 0, this side as 1. This is normal, but that is, so don't think that just for binary bit 1 we have to do like this. It's not like this. You can do the reverse also. Ultimately you just need to do two things, that there should be a difference of timing. If you can create a difference of timing, then one will be considered as bit 1 and another will be considered as bit 0. So now the question here is why this technique is different from the prime probe attack that we discussed in last class. In normal prime probe attack, if there is a partition exists, then it cannot evict each other blocks. But what here we are doing is, first we are to here also it's true that we cannot evict each other blocks, but there is a gray line if it is a dynamic partition, right? If it is a dynamic partition, then after changing the partition, it is possible to remove the block. You can see the stage 3 and stage 3, 4, and 5. In stage 3, partition was in favor of spy, right? And it is almost blue, right? The set is almost blue. Almost all the ways are filled with the blocks of spy. Now in stage 3, Trojan changes the partition. You can see here. Sorry, I'll remove some markings so that it will be easy for you to understand. In stage 3, see, partition is changed from here to here, right? Partition change ho gaya, but even after changing partition, immediately the block will not remove. But now if after changing the partition at stage 4, if Trojan wants, it can remove the block of spy, right? That which is happened here in stage stage 5. So the primary assumption of cache partitioning, that if we partition the cache, then it cannot evict each other blocks. We can see that there is a loophole here. If we use dynamic partitioning, it's possible that if we change the partition, then after changing the partition, this type of attack is taken. So this was the main motivation of us. And you can see in figure 1 we have explained this idea, but only thing where you people may raise question here is the bit transmission will be very slow here. Why? Because it's, you can see, to transfer one bit we need to change the partition twice, right? In stage 1 and stage 1, one partition change is initiating, and in stage 4 another partition change is initiating. So right, so two partition changes required to send one particular bit. So this is actually very very slow, because I think if you remember the UCP paper, the partition change is triggered I think at least 5 million, after 5 million cycles, or I forgot, but it's a long time. So here you can see that two partition changes required to send one bit. So this is a very slow, but still we have shown here that still the bit transmission is possible. So if you scroll down the paper, then you'll find that, so this is not the only idea. You can easily extend this idea, and you can send multiple bits at a time. How? Here in this part of this figure, I'm removing some of the marking, otherwise you will not understand. You can see we have only targeted here set X. What about if instead of targeting one, the same thing that we have done here, if we replicate the same thing in multiple sets, x1, x1, x2, x3, dot. If you can suppose x 10. So if we can the same policy that I have shown here, the same policy we can just 1 minute. भैया अभी मेरा क्लास चल रहा है, थोड़ी देर में आना. Okay, so see here what I was saying, that this part, if it is applied on only on set X, so instead of applying only on set X, we can apply we can use multiple set at a time. So okay, so one set for transmitting one bit. So suppose set X is for transmitting bit number 1, set X2 is for transmitting set number bit number 2. So if you can target 10 sets, then what will happen then? And every two partition period, suppose as since this technique, this figure 1, the technique that I'm explaining here, to send one bit we need two partition change, right? But if we target multiple sets, then what will happen? In two partition change you can send multiple bits. Here if we target 10 sets, then you can send 10 bits using two partition changes. So that's why this attack is still effective, because instead of targeting one set, if the attacker target multiple sets here, multiple set, then in two partition change it can send multiple bits. So in that case, what will be required? The eviction set 2 that I'm saying, ES2 spy and ES2 Trojan, this will extend. In that case, the spy and Trojan needs a list of eviction set, right? List of eviction set means they must have a separate eviction set for X1, separate eviction set for X2, and etc. And again, both Trojan and spy need only one set like this, ES1 and ES1 spy and ES1 spy and ES1 Trojan, to change the partition. Once partition change done, then the remaining eviction set will be used to target multiple sets. So this is the complete concept of this paper. If you scroll this paper, so if you scroll this paper, you can see we call our technique as CPCC. Okay, and first, if you scroll this paper, you will find how to transmit bit 1. I have already explained this concept, bit 1, how to transmit bit 0. And then we have also given a generic algorithm, because the concept that I've explained mostly based on UCP, right? But in this paper, we have shown that this type of attack, this covert channel attack, is possible on any dynamic partitioning if that dynamic partitioning use the concept of sample set. So that's why we have given a generic algorithm here, that how we can create with this proposed technique can be implemented on any dynamic partitioning based on sample set. Okay, so see, there are all the 6 stages are given here. And then after this, in this subsection, you can see multi-set generic algorithm. Multi-set generic algorithm means how we will perform the attack on multiple set at a time, such that multiple set bit can be transferred same time. So you can see there are multiple eviction set required here. So all this thing is, I think, is explained in this section. And see, there is a section here you'll find that how this CPCC attack can be implemented on different partitioning technique. So each partitioning technique has some unique behavior, right? I have explained it based on UCP, but there are some other partitioning technique like PIPP, CCPIP. There are different partitioning technique exists. So for each partitioning technique, some small minor modifications are required. So that modifications are discussed in this section. And then in experimental section, we have shown that how this attack is possible on different partitioning techniques. So I'm not explaining the complete details of experimental section, but I hope you'll read the paper, and if you read the paper, you'll understand the concept properly. If after reading the paper, if you feel anything is not clear, then you can discuss with me, or you can discuss with Jaspinder also. So in last class also, I've explained that if you want to know more about side channel attack, covert channel attack, timing behavior, cache partitioning and all, then you can discuss with Jaspinder. And if you want to know more about replacement policies, right, Hawkeye, then Mockingjay, plus the randomized cache concept that I'll explain now, if you want to know this part, then you can discuss with Prathamesh. And anyway, if you have any doubt, you can always discuss with me. Okay, so I think this CPCC attack I have explained. So in this paper will the short name of this paper will be CPCC. Okay, and now I'll move to the next concept. So if I again go back here, and if I uh, go back here, then I have explained one part, this partition side I have explained. So now I'll start explaining the randomized part. But I think before stopping this partition side, I think I should also explain what are the future research possible in this direction, because I cannot say that this is stopped. So the paper that I have proposed here, in this paper CPCC, we show a attack, but this attack was very simple exam. We assumed a very simple architecture. The architecture we assume is there are two cores only, C1 and C2. Okay, what about if there are multiple cores? Means instead of two core, if there are 5 cores or 8 cores, in that case the partition will be not just among spy and Trojan, right? In that case there will be other applications also. In that scenario, how this attack is possible? So this is an extension of CPCC, and Jaspinder is currently working in this problem. So the idea is already finalized. We are just executing, we are collecting the results. So I hope you are understanding that if there are multiple applications, the partition will be changed among all the applications, right? So in that case, how this attack is possible? So this work we are doing, but even after this there are a lot of other works possible. First is all our work that we are doing. Why I'm saying our works, because to the best of my knowledge, no one is working in this area at this moment. That's why I'm saying. So if the partition is changed, suppose, okay, so what we are doing, we are assuming that underlying replacement policy is LRU. So if the underlying replacement policy that is not LRU, suppose the underlying replacement policy is the recent replacement policy, right, Hawkeye, or other replacement policy, recent replacement policy like Mockingjay. So in that case, how this partition attack is possible? Or first point, you without understanding the attack also, see, the point that I'm explaining is the important point, and maybe you can think your term paper or research in this area also, that okay, if you remember the Hawkeye paper or some other replacement policy that I said you should study by yourself for term paper. So that replacement policy are also smart replacement policy, right? So what do you think that the replacement policy like Hawkeye is enough to handle multiple codes here without partitioning techniques? Because C1, C2, C3, there are 3 applications running. Suppose the application running, so here are A1, A2, A3. Okay, so partitioning technique, purpose of partitioning technique you know already, right? But if there is a replacement policy like Hawkeye or Mockingjay, which are very smart replacement policy, they claim if these type of replacement policies are already implemented in LLC, do you think the partition is required? And maybe you can just run this algorithm on ChemSim and try to find out this, because at this moment I also don't know the answer, but it will be a very interesting thing to analyze this, that okay, first you run multiple applications on Hawkeye or the Mockingjay recent replacement policy, and then try to implement the partitioning, assuming that underlying replacement policy is LRU, or then assume that the underlying replacement policy is Hawkeye, and then apply the partitioning and see the difference. If you see there is a difference, that it means that partition is still important, and we should use partition on top of this existing replacement policies. So this may be one part, and then you can think about what about the securities. So what about the attack that I said, CPCC attack? If this type of attack is still possible, if the partition is implemented on top of this type of replacement policies, recent replacement policies, and if it is possible, what are the new things you need to perform to do this type of attack? If you think in this direction, you can do your term paper, you can do your in more advanced research also in this area. There are many works possible. I've just given one idea, that don't think that whatever we propose here, the everything is stopped. This is just a new beginning, and lot of works is possible in security. No one has explored yet how it will happen, that if we use a Hawkeye combining with partition, or it is not required at all, right? So if you think that Hawkeye is so smart that it can easily handle the requirement of all the application and no need to partition, Okay, this is the part. If this is the, there will be two goal here, right? No need of partition. अगर ये आपका conclusion आता है कि partition is not required in Hawkeye, suppose. If partition is not required in Hawkeye, then how Hawkeye will handle prime proof attack? Because prime proof attack can be easily handled by partition, that we already know. So if we go with this assumption, आपने calculation किया, analysis किया, after analyzing, if you think that this is the conclusion, then the next question is, अगर यही है, partition नहीं कर रहे हो, then how you are handling prime proof attack? Straightforward prime proof attack जो मैंने last class में explain किया था, how Hawkeye will handle it. So you can think this direction also. Or if you find this conclusion that partition is important even in top of Hawkeye, right? If you come up with this decision, because either this or this, you'll get any of this decision, right? I've already discussed this. If this is the outcome, that partition is important on top of Hawkeye, then you can think on this direction, that is it possible to apply CPCC kind of attack on this type of design. Okay, so you can do a lot of work in this direction also, and any of this work will be considered enough for, not just for term paper, those will be enough for your MTP also. Okay, and if someone is here from doing PhD, and then this can be considered as a chapter of your thesis if you do it properly. Okay, so these are the possible areas I've explained from this side, partition side, that how to propose countermeasure using partition. Okay, this is done. Abhi, whatever time I left today, in that time I'll try to discuss randomized cache. Randomized cache is very interesting. I just recently Prathame started working on randomized cache. So I'll quickly explain the concept of randomized cache. I think I have already explained basics in last class, that if there is I'll explain with the same diagram here. So if there is a block X mapping to set number 1, then according to set associative cache, the property of set associative cache says this block X will always map to this set number 0, right? But the randomized cache says no, we'll change the mapping dynamically. Means or no, first they didn't say that they will change the mapping dynamically. First they said they will use an encryption mechanism here. Suppose there will be an encryption box here, and every time the actual set index, suppose I want to place X, block X in this set, in this cache, then there will be some set index of X, right? That set index is suppose called set index 1. Okay, so that set index will be applied to this box, and suppose this is a low cost encryption technique. This has a key here also, and based on this key, this encryption technique will change this S1 to something else. Suppose this is called X1. Okay, no, X will make you confused, so suppose it is S1 dash. So now according to S1 dash, it will go to a new set. So what is happening, as a outside user can if attacker can only know this S1, right? But since there is a internal mechanism which will encrypt and convert S1 to S1 dash using some encryption key, then that actual set ID that is actually mapping to the actually assigned to block X is not known to the attacker. And if this is not known to the attacker, then what is happening? Attacker cannot create a eviction set, right? And it's not possible that attacker will target all the cache. If attacker start targeting all the cache, it is not possible to establish the attack. So this is the case here, that if this is the main concept of randomized cache, that they will use the encrypted algorithm here, low cost encryption algorithm, because you cannot use high heavy encryption algorithm otherwise, because this encryption will also take some time, and it is increasing the access time of the cache, and it is falling in the critical path. I hope I think I've explained this point, what is called critical path. It is falling in the critical path. You cannot perform this task at the background, right? So they are using some low cost encryption technique for this. So again, this is done. I have already explained the randomized cache, but the question is it secure? So in that paper only they showed that if we keep 2 points same, that if this key is always static, okay, then also it is not very secure, because people may guess this key, and if an attacker can guess this key, then everything is everything, this entire box here, this will become useless, right? They can still create the eviction set. So they said, no, we'll change the key every time, and this key will not be same for different computer. Every time when computer will boot, during the boot time, this key will change. and and then so in this sense, what will happen, even the policy is same. If with same policy, if multiple processors have been designed and the same policy is applied to different processors, then also when every time the processor will boot, then the key will change, so the mapping will be different, so it will be difficult for a attacker to guess. This is their first point. And then second point, they said that even after that also, if the suppose a computer start and during the boot time the key has been changed, but what about the computer which runs from months, right? So in that case, attacker has enough time, right, to find out, to do something else and try to find out the key. So the next thing they said is, no, what we will do, we'll change the key also dynamically. Or what they said, that we'll change the mapping of a block dynamically. First, if X is mapping to this particular set, after some time, means after a fixed amount of time, X will be remapped to some other set. So this is their last idea, they said. So now if let us go to the paper. The paper is this. It is published in Micro 2018. So you can see Moinuddin Qureshi. I think Moinuddin Qureshi is one of the author of UCP paper also, if I am not making mistake. Moinuddin Qureshi. Okay, so they name their paper as Caesar. So first, the first part is this. This is their first part. This part is without dynamically changing the set. So if you go here, I explained that every time when the computer will boot, the key will be changed, right? This is the first part, and where they have not changed, not implemented the dynamic changing set dynamic change of the mapping. And the R is they use for randomly changing the mapping. So I'll directly go to the diagram here. So this is the traditional cache. You can see this is the set index. Set index, they are saying it line address. So line address will come here, and there will be a well-known hashing technique that we know. And based on this hashing technique, it is always going to a particular set, right? This is the actual property of set associative cache. Now what they will do, when the address will come here, they will apply some encryption technique. Here is low cost encryption technique. LLBC is, I think you will find here. LLBC is low latency block cipher. Okay, so and that is the key they are supplying here. You can see, and based on this, the encryption address is coming, encryption set address. And now previously this block was assigning here, but now after encryption, see the set number change. So which is difficult from the outside, from outside the processor to guess that where actually the block is mapping. And now here you can see Caesar dynamic remapping. So in dynamic remapping, after some time the key will change. See, initially the key is key T1. Now the key has changed to key T2. And initially this was the first mapping of the blocks. Now after some time the mapping changed from this set to another set here. Okay, so this is their final proposal, that even after applying encryption, they will change the partition after some time. And they said here, if you read the paper, you can see they have written here that we perform per every 100 access to the cache. So after every 100 access to the cache, they are changing the partition. They are changing the mappings of a particular set. Okay, so I think till this point it is clear. So why they are doing this? Because if they do this type of thing, that is called basic, this is seizure. So in this seizure, if we apply this concept, then for an attacker it is not possible to guess the eviction set. How it will create the eviction set when it will not know the underlying mapping of the eviction set, underlying mapping of the set associative cache. So if you only think about security point of view, then yes, it is secure. If you go with randomized cache, it is not possible to directly perform any covert channel attack, at least at this moment. But it's not like that. Again, it's foolproof. People are there. You can find some paper where it is mentioned that randomized cache are not secure. But let us not discuss this point. At this point, let us assume that it is secure. But what about the performance? There will be a huge impact on performance. Why? You can see the set changes. Just concentrate on this diagram and this diagram. If you want to change the blocks of one set to another, if you want to move from one set to another, then you have to write back some, you have to drop some block, right? You cannot move because both the set, if both the set are full, either you have to swap the blocks by targeting one by one, and if you want to swap the block, then also you need a huge time, right? So remapping will create a major overhead. If you remember my paper that I've explained, FSDAM, right, before while I was discussing the local utilization issues before midsem. In that case, also I said in FSDAM there is a reorder required, right? But that reorder was also was not very frequent as compared to seizure. And believe me, reorder, if you want to perform reorder very frequently, then it's a time consuming process. And after reorder, you cannot place everything in the block. You are forced to remove some blocks after reordering, otherwise reorder will be very expensive. So when you will read this paper, I'll not explain the paper properly. They have written a complete section explaining the detail that how efficiently they have reordered it. Means they have proposed some efficient technique to reorder the blocks from, because once you change the mapping, you have to change the block, reorder the block. Otherwise, there will be inconsistency in the cache. So what I'll say that even after showing all the reordering and all, I think there will be a performance gap and there will be a performance issue here. So at the conclusion of this paper, I will say that this paper is making the cache secure, true, but there will be some performance overhead because of changing the set and all. So rest you will read the paper. You read the paper, you will understand it. Basic concept I've explained, but see, I am still explaining from page number 2, and the paper is of 13 pages, right? So there are a lot of interesting concepts there, but the base idea I have explained here. So now the question is, if I go back again to my diagram here, so if I say randomized cache is secure, right? So if the randomized cache is secure, then what are the problems? As I said, I'll assume at this point the randomized cache is secure from covert channel or side channel attack. I'm assuming this. Even after assuming that, I have shown you that there may be some partition performance issues, right? Performance issues may be possible. Now if someone can misuse these things, that performance issue wala concept, and if someone tries to do a DOS attack on it, I hope I explained in last class what is called DOS attack. So if someone understand that okay, randomized cache से side channel तो नहीं होगा, covert channel तो नहीं होगा, but performance degrade होता है. So if some attacker understand this point and based on this point उसने कुछ ऐसा application develop किया that in that application it can degrade the performance even more, then this is an attack, right? This is a DOS attack. And for the same thing is doing by a paper called Damru, I think DAMRU, Damru. This is a paper proposed by the group of IIT Madras. So अगर आप search करोगे यहाँ पे, I think let me search it here. Why I'm searching it here, because I'm Damru, I think IIT Bombay. I think आ जाना चाहिए. Yeah, oh, sorry. Damru. A denial of service attack. See, it is called DOS attack. Damru, a denial of service attack on randomized last level cache. Vishwanathan Panda. Okay, so it means that randomized cache, even if we assume that it is preventing CCA attack, then also there are other types of attack possible in randomized cache. DOS attack is one of the thing, right? So in we are also working on this direction, and as I said, Prathamesh is working on randomized cache, and we are trying to show that we are also assuming that randomized cache may be secure for side channel, but we will show that there are many problems are there in terms of performance issues. So even if you want to fix randomized cache for preventing side channel and cover channel, then you have to improve this randomized cache. Otherwise, there are a lot of performance issues. So what Prathamesh is trying to explore is that here in this paper, if you see in this paper, they have performed a DOS attack. But even after this, if the randomized cache is using the recent replacement policies, then what will happen? At present, I think randomized cache also assume the last LRU as the replacement policy. If instead of this, if the replacement policy is Hawkeye or any other recent replacement policy, then how randomized case will behave? And on this point, Prathame started working, and we are finding very interesting result. But since the work is still under progress, I'll not disclose it. Otherwise, what will happen? Your mind process will start thinking in this direction, and that will not be correct because someone else is working in this area. So I'm stopping. I'm giving you idea, but from this point you can think your own ideas, and believe me, there are a lot of interesting work possible in this direction. And here implementation will be at the last end. Before starting implementation also, you can think about those ideas and technique, that what are the new attack is possible. Even if you go with CCA attack or time-based attack, or even when the time-based attack is not possible, it is possible to go with the DOS attack, right? All these things are you can consider. So if I'll quickly, I think randomized wala, this side I have already explained. So what I'll give is I'll give you two tasks. These two papers, Caesar and this paper, CPCC, this will be part, or it will be in your syllabus, in your NSM syllabus. Damru is not in your NSM syllabus. So I'll not share the paper Damru. You can download it by yourself. If you want to do term paper, then read all this paper Damru and all. But for NSM syllabus, Caesar and CPCC are in your course. Okay. Now I'll quickly show you that one more interesting thing is that in CPCC we said partitioning is not, dynamic partitioning is not secure. But do you think that if we can if we prove this, then what do you think that we cannot use partitioning for CCA? So my first student Jaspinder, PhD student, is working in this area. What we are trying to show here, that no, we can still use partition, but with some other concept, and some other concept is called attack detection. There are some paper already proposed which can detect a particular attack. So if suppose a prime probe attack is happening on this particular set number X, then there are some attack detection technique which will work in the background. Their work will not be in the critical fall, in the critical path. So they will observe some behavior, and based on this behavior, it is possible to detect detect that okay, this set is now currently under a side channel attack or currently under a covert channel attack. So if this is possible to detect, so once we detect, then what we will do in this particular set, we'll apply static partitioning. Okay, and in other set will not apply static partitioning, and other set maybe will go with dynamic partitioning and all. So this is a idea that we have proposed. Jaspinder has proposed, and we have submitted it in a journal, and we are trying to extend this idea also. So this idea is based on detection, that there are some existing techniques which can detect that okay, there is a covert channel attack going on, and if we can detect a covert channel attack, then what we'll do in that particular set, will fix the partition statically. Will not go with dynamic partition in that set. But I cannot say that this is a foolproof idea, right? Because research is still going on, and maybe from this point, after some time, we can also find out that okay, no, this attack is also, this idea is also not foolproof. Maybe we can propose something else on top of it. So research is still going on, and we are also trying to explore this area. So I think I'll stop here, and tomorrow I'll not take any lecture. So maybe tomorrow you can revise whatever I'm explaining today, and this week also, if you have not finalized your term paper, then if you want to do work in this area, then utilize tomorrow's time and try to finalize it. Okay. So I will again there will be live lecture on next Monday, and I think either I will go with prefetching or NOC in from next week. So I'm stopping here, and if you have any question, you can ask me now.